Hello, Cancer, and welcome to your monthly forecast. My name is Nicholas Ashbaugh, and it's so great to see all of you. We're going to be taking a look at all of the energy information coming through for the month of December, and let's look at how everything is organized just in case you're brand new. I begin with channeled messages, which includes a totem that for today I actually got from dreams. So I was seeing all of these little cats in my dreams, but they weren't a domestic cat, and I had to kind of Google it. Lo and behold, it's a bobcat. So that's going to be the totem, and we'll talk about what it symbolizes, how it can help you navigate through the month ahead, and that'll be part one. Then we'll get into the Celtic Cross, which all of you are familiar with, and we'll be taking a look there at anything Spirit wants to bring through that can help you. It's very much sort of like soul coaching in that piece. Sometimes it's about love, sometimes it's about work, sometimes it's something completely different. Then we'll expand and look at health, wealth, love, and destiny. That's the first part. There's a lot more to come, but we'll get into that as we go further along. If you like what you see here, please remember to hit the subscribe button and also opt into notifications. You can like and share as well. That's up to you. It does help the channel, and I do appreciate it. If you'd like some reminders across social media, follow me at Nicholas Ashbaugh on all major platforms. Twitter, it's @Ashbaugh. And remember, if you do follow me, I do not offer private readings and I do not use direct messages. So if anybody tries to do either of those two things, you know it's not me. If you would like to show some love and support, you can do that through SuperStickers, SuperChat, memberships, or the thanks button if you're watching it on replay. Again, all of it's optional, but it does help the channel grow. So thank you in advance to anybody that wants to do that. All right, without any further delay, let's get into your channeled messages. Again, I was being chased around by cats in my dreams, but I was noticing that the tail was short, and that's what gave it away that it was a bobcat. Because I thought to myself, these look a little bit fluffier than a regular cat, and the tail was different, but I couldn't remember what kind of cat it was because there's a lot of different cats that hunt in nature, so a bobcat indeed. So bobcats are really interesting because they're very nocturnal animals. They like to do most of their hunting. Let me look at the timelines here. It was 3 hours before sunset until about midnight, and then they do it right again around dawn. So about a few hours before dawn and then 3 hours after sunrise. So for many of you, this could indicate a period of time where you're getting energy bursts at odd parts of the day. So it could either be very early in the morning, you're getting up unexpectedly in the middle of the night, or you may have a hard time going to sleep. The first and the most obvious way that you can deal with this, of course, is just through creating a better schedule. We do it when we're kids. Maybe our parents set a bedtime, but when we're adults, sometimes we just do what we want to do. And sometimes it can lead to issues with sort of sleep quality and sleep quantity. So I could have also put the Four of Swords on this one, but the moon was interesting because it's kind of like you just have this energy and you want to get out. And again, the dogs and the coyotes and the wolves on these cards always remind me of activity at night. So that's why I chose it. But suffice it to say, as especially in the northern hemispheres, we're going into darker months and winter months. It's harder to kind of automatically figure out when we should go to bed. I mean, it's even true for those of you in the southern hemisphere. When you have a longer day, you tend to pull the day out longer. Sometimes when it's a shorter day, you might be relying on caffeine to sort of have that extra push at the end of the workday or school day, and then by the time you get home, it kind of does weird things with your sleep. So pay attention to diet, exercise, meditation. All of those things can help. If you're having bigger issues, of course, speak with your doctor. But on the flip side of all of this, it could actually be advantageous if, let's say, it's just the universe trying to get your attention. Sometimes the reason that you're going to be a little bit more sensitive and aware at nighttime is it's the only time you give yourself a chance to meditate. It's a natural form of meditation. When we go to sleep, we go through the REM cycles. And so if you meditate, you'll actually feel an improvement in sleep. But otherwise, whatever you're receiving, whatever's bothering you, whatever's getting you excited or getting you inspired, do something about it. Write it down, make a plan. Once you've put it into action, the universe will let you rest again, usually. For me, whenever, let's say if you're an artist or a writer, sometimes the inspiration comes at an inconvenient time because you're relaxed. So you're trying to figure out the end to a story. You're trying to figure out a solution to a problem at work. You've been tired and busy all day. Maybe you work too much. The reason it comes to you in the shower or while you're driving, or in this case, maybe while you're trying to go to sleep, is now the mind is able to look and focus on different things and the solution just comes in. So don't get frustrated. get inspired, write it down, and then let it go and say, I'll deal with it tomorrow. Okay, that's my advice for this. All right, moving on to the next card. The Bobcat is a really good hunter. In fact, they can leap over 3 meters, which is just under 10 feet in length. They can chase down their prey when they're close enough, and the speed that they basically can achieve is 30 kilometers per hour or 31 miles per hour. And this is only in short bursts, but that's pretty fast for a cat or for any animal. And unfortunately, however, that is something that can only be achieved for a while. So this is sort of bringing us to the sprinting energy. Sprints and then rests is probably what's going to be happening for you over the course of the next month. You'll have periods where you have to put a lot of energy forth, and then you have to recoup and basically plan for the next sprint. So I put 2 cards here because the reason that this particular cat is such an effective hunter is, 1, it knows what it wants. The High Priestess. It tunes in, it's ready, it has razor focus. 2, it knows when to push and when to pull back when it comes to energy. It also has a very specific time that it's active. So the 6 of Pentacles energy is knowing how to basically balance and measure everything out. So you have limits when it comes to time, energy, money, even attention span. And so really make sure that whatever it is that you're using for your time, energy, and money, it's worth it, that this is going to be a wise investment. As you pace yourself, it allows you to occasionally push like a rubber band. One thing that I experienced a few years back, I had a concussion, and my neurologist reminded me that, that I couldn't push myself in the same way that I used to, which is why I always, if I'm tired, I just go to bed. He said, you have a threshold now. You used to be at 100, now you're at about 80%. He said, if you push yourself over that 80%, fatigue can set in, some of the symptoms from the concussion can come back. And he said, you're just not going to be productive. So in some ways, that was the most healthy experience that I had, even though it created a small limitation, because it's basically put in a permanent 6 of Pentacles where I know at a certain point, go to bed, take care of yourself, take care of your brain, take care of your body. It's not worth it. And so that's one thing that I would try to share with all of you, is that the older you get, the more you realize burning the candle at both ends, not only it doesn't prove anything, but it's also pretty harmful. And if you're in a relationship, a job, or a situation where they expect you to do that consistently, something's going to give at some point. And so use the word no, have healthy limits, and know that the pacing is going to help you be able to achieve what you want to achieve when you want to achieve it. You can have almost everything you want, but just not necessarily in the timing that you want. And that's the key thing here, to realize that, you have to sometimes just, patience is key. And then also realizing that it's going to take, by taking time, actually, sometimes you appreciate it even more. So think of it in that light, okay? But this is a stealthy hunter. It can get what it wants. It just can't move at that pace and move at that speed 24/7. It's a very, I don't want to say antisocial, it's a very kind of private animal. They're very solitary. Females choose a secluded den to raise their family, and they stick there, for a while, basically. And again, the time at which they sort of hunt, also very quiet times of the night and early morning. So we're definitely seeing hermit energy, which to me is not a bad thing. That is an inner discovery, introspective card, and it gives way to the Ace of Wands too. So you're in early phases of development and discovery, and I feel like many of you need to get comfortable with who you are, what you stand for, and if you're creating something, or if you want to change or announce something, you have to believe in it. And so you're in that sort of spark phase where you're sparking the fire and the passion within. Once you have we take that Ace of Wands, you could imagine it like a torch. Once it's a fire and a blaze, just like that lantern, then you can share it with someone else. So we're looking at maybe the next month to month and a half. You're just figuring something out. And it's okay at the beginning phase to figure something out, because when you share it with someone, if you don't believe it, they're not going to believe it. And if you're not sure of something yet, you could conserve a lot of time, energy, and resources just by getting sure. So research, read, talk to people. And then when you're ready to make that move, you can make the move with a sense of confidence, okay? And the word germination is basically just what you think. It's like a seed that we plant. But to me, I chose the Ace of Wands over the Ace of Pentacles because you have to figure it out here before you're ready to ground it energetically. So this is definitely Hermit and Ace of Wands energy that I got with the Bobcat totem. All right, reading between the lines is going to be so important. Bobcats are not, they communicate verbally, but they pick up on a lot of things non-verbally through scent, through visual cues, and also then again through vocalizations. They remind us that body language, posture, and tone are just as important as what's being said. So for you, it could also be very helpful to have, like I put justice here, have an expert come in and look at something or assess something, because sometimes we're too much in the weeds or in the center of something to be objective. When it comes to things that you do feel good about, however, trust those instincts. This is an animal that hunts on instinct as well. So if it just feels right, but you can't really describe why, you can trust that instinct. If it feels wrong and you can't describe why, that's when you could lean on an expert and say, what, is it just me, or do you also have concerns about this? To that end, if you're in a big conversation or a meeting at work and you have a sense that something needs to be brought up, do it in a way that is non-combative. You could just say, before we proceed, I have a question and I can't stop asking it to myself, so I figured I might not be the only one in the room. Here it is. And that's going to open it up so that other people feel comfortable. You might have to just be the first one that breaks the ice. And even if you are the only one that's in the room that says this or thinks this, down the line, if something pops up and you were the voice of reason, it's going to be sort of like a very good thing that you spoke up when you did, rather than sitting on it and then having someone upset that you didn't say something. Okay? But that last piece is important, reading between the lines. You can often pick up on when someone's in pain, when someone needs or wants something, but they're just afraid to say it. So trust in that energy and know that it's going to bring you to the right place. All right, let's move on to the last slide here. So bobcats, of all the different things that they prefer to hunt, the thing that they love the most are rabbits and hares. And this really was a nice connection with the Queen of Pentacles. FYI, they eat a lot of other things, including rodents, but that was the primary thing when I did my research that they like. So I'm going to actually just zoom in on this one really quick. In the Queen of Pentacles, in the corner, you'll see a little bunny rabbit. And this card in particular can be associated with abundance, fertility, and also things like house and home. And so in this period of time, you want to focus on all of those things, because what's going to be happening here, you may be in the Hermit phase and that Ace of Wands germination, beginning sort of inner spark phase, but by the time the new year hits, because we're looking at December right now, by the time we go into 2023, I think things are going to pick up pretty quickly. Rabbits move quickly. Again, things develop quickly. So fertility, the reason that they're associated with fertility is they reproduce quickly. So there's this period of time in the beginning 3 months of the year, the first quarter, where a lot of movement will happen for you. So here's what you can do to make sure that you're ready. Focus on clearing things in your life, particularly the spaces around you. So look at your office, look at your car, look at your home. Get stuff in that space that you don't need out. Sell it, donate it, or put it into storage so that there's room for something new that you can welcome in the new. Because if everything's already filled up in your life, it's hard for the universe to present new things. Detoxify whatever you need to in your diet, in your even in your relationships and things of that nature, so that you are clear, clean, and grounded. And do what makes you feel supported. Whenever I look at Queen of Pentacles, it's a very developmental card. That means for some of you, returning to school, treating yourself by learning something or basically engaging with something that makes you feel nurtured, supported, and allows you to expand, and allows you also to put your energy into something in the physical world. So taking one of those ideas, and maybe it is as simple as just deciding to carve out a little bit of time, an hour a week, an hour a day, however much you want to do, you're going to start to see some work in progress when you do that. Because what I love about the Queen and the King of Pentacles is they have green thumbs. So anything that they invest in typically grows, as long as they love it and they're consistent about it and they believe in it. So those are your sort of tests and goals right now to be the best and most effective manifester. quick review and then we'll get into the main part of the reading here. So as I said, your inspiration may strike at inconvenient times. There's a lot that you can do with that. You can either embrace it or you can try to regulate your schedule. I would say whatever does come through, try to embrace it and see why it's coming forth, because once you acknowledge it, then typically your energy will go back to normal cycles. Focus. The reason that this hunter, the bobcat, is so effective is it knows what it wants and then it moves quickly. So I would say focus. Timing is something that I didn't put in here, but timing is key. And then pacing. You can't operate at, breakneck speed all the time. So choose when to sprint, choose when to rest. This is a period where you may need to spend some time with yourself or on something by yourself so that you can get it fully fleshed out enough so that someone else understands it. Don't rush to the finish line. Make sure that you believe in it. Make sure that you're ready before you move to the next phase. Read between the lines. Not only that, but don't underestimate the importance of your own nonverbal cues. So read the room, read between the lines, lean on an expert if you need to, and that will help. How you say something is just as important as what you say. How you're holding your body when you're saying it, also important. All of these things are preparing you for abundance. Things are going to pick up pace pretty quickly, maybe even in December, but definitely as we're looking at the new year, January, February, and March are offering this really big movement in advance of spring. You're going to have a busy winter if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. So detox and clear everything in your life so that you can allow this to set in and create beautiful movement, okay? All right, this is a nice segue. We're going to now take a look at the Celtic Cross again, which is going to bring us energy for the next 6 to 8 weeks, and then we'll get into the other portions of the forecast. Welcome, everybody. It's good to see you. I'm going to be quiet here for a few minutes as I get everything set up, and then we'll break down all the messages coming through. All right. Let's begin. We're going to take a look here at the Halls of Learning for your Catalyst card. This is such a beautiful illustration here, and I really like what it says at the bottom here. We have spirit guides, confirmation, and great lessons. So the spirit guides piece nicely connects with the channeled messages, which basically said that you may be receiving information at inconvenient times, but you're receiving it nonetheless. And the reason that it could be inconvenient is because you're so busy that you're not meditating, or just because you're detached and spirit's like, hey, don't forget about this. So whenever it comes through, do something with it. That's an epiphany, that's an aha moment, and that's a gift, and it doesn't always happen like that. So record your thoughts, especially those inspirational ones, so that you can do something about them. Some of you have been looking for a confirmation. Should I do this? Can I do this? Is this the right thing? The confirmation's coming through in this card today. Yes, it's okay to explore this. Yes, this is the time to do it. And also we see that a big part of this month is wrapping things up. And that makes a lot of sense for a December reading. And what this is giving you a chance to do is to exit this year basically clear, clean, and ready to, again, have the space for growth to happen next year. And this also confirms what I was looking at when I saw the cards. As I was quietly shuffling, I noticed that majority of what we see here is minor arcana. We have some court cards. We have one major arcana here with the lovers, but almost everything else is in the minor arcana. And when that happens, there's a lot of work that you can finish. It can be a very productive month. On one level, it tells me karmically and cosmically, most stuff is dealt with. It's more just like tying up loose ends. You said you were going to do this, or you were going to focus on this, or this requires your attention. So it's more, if you will, the sort of secretarial energy work than it is like big major shifts. That being said, in dreams, and I forgot to put this in my channel messages, but it's coming through now as we're speaking, I did see a death card when I woke up. And it says something has to move out, something has to leave. That was what Spirit shows me. So sometimes I'm sitting at a table and I'm shown a card. And they did show me the death card. I don't worry when I see that. To me, that makes a lot of sense because death would be connected with December and January. In the book that I wrote a few years ago, my science fiction book, I entertain the thought that death could also be Janus, which is the name of January, because it would be the god that looks at what has happened and also what's about to happen. So we're entering December and January. They're both those bookend months. And just like the World and the Fool, it's very much like that. You have this chance to sort of make sure that you've closed out everything before you put that book back on the shelf, okay? So let's go ahead now and look at the cards one by one and figure out what the lessons and opportunities and energies are so that you can really go into 2023. I have to keep thinking of that. 2023 with a really clear, clean slate. That's my goal for you. Center cards are really interesting. We have the reality check of the Seven of Swords followed up by the movement of the Six of Swords. So let's get to the reality check card first. The Seven of Swords in tarot can represent two or three things. The way that I'm reading this first is the universe wants you to get real with yourself. And what happens with the Seven of Swords sometimes is we think we're ready for something, but it's almost like we're just deceiving ourselves, telling ourselves a white lie. This has come up a couple of times in different signs this month, so it's a consistent theme as I'm looking at the month ahead. So in this period of time, the universe says, be real with yourself and then be real with other people. Also, it's basically reminding you of the importance of holding yourself to be accountable. So if there was anything that you set out to do or that you promised, more importantly, to do, or you've contractually agreed to do, all of these things should be dealt with in this period of time because you're setting an example for the world at large. And if you follow through on your promises, then you're going to attract people that do the same. And if you don't, then you're going to attract people that don't. So we want to clear anything with respect to that. Okay. There may also be someone in your midst that is not doing what they said. And in this case, it's very clear. It's time for you to move on from that energy. So if someone has repeatedly fallen short on their promises, has repeatedly said one thing, did another thing, or it's maybe talked about you behind your back, it's time to separate yourself from that energy. That's going to not only help you by detoxifying your mind, body, and spirit, but it's going to allow you to focus on people and things in your life that are more receptive and more deserving of your time and energy. Some of you know it's time to move on in general. So here's the interesting thing. This could be an old job, an old home, a relationship that sort of had its day in the sun, and now you realize there's nothing left. The person's not engaging with me, or I've learned my karmic lesson and I'm not feeling a connection anymore. Whatever it is, this card is representing that the time is now to move on, to explore other things, and to maybe even give yourself some separation from that energy, just to see. Sometimes we forget who we are, particularly if we're in an all-engrossing relationship where you're a caretaker, for instance. Sometimes even when you're a parent, until the children go off to college and start their own life, it's sort of like you lose track of what was important. So this is a reclaiming and a refocusing on you in the equation, whether it's been you all along or you've been connected with someone else. Sometimes we just lose track of, why am I here? What do I want to do? What's important to me? And during this introspective period, because I pulled the Hermit when I was meditating and sort of focusing on your energy through the Bobcat sort of symbology, I would say it's important for you to do the inner work. That's going to help you with all these other cards that we're looking at. There could also be a move on the horizon for some of you. So you may be deciding right now how to make this happen. And it's going to happen pretty quickly here, but it's just a matter of taking the first step. That's the missing piece here, okay? Let's go into your deep past. We have the 9 of Cups, which is one of the most positive cards you can pull. It shows the power of affirmative thoughts, the importance of gratitude, which I think we actually got here in the health message. So being grateful, being present, really appreciating everything, even the twists and turns. And that's the thing that I love about this, is that with 9 of Cups energy in your deep past, you've learned the lesson that even a delay, a setback, a misstep, it can sometimes carry with it something positive. You can take something that's not so great and use it as kind of like manure for your life. So if something's not great, reuse it, recycle it, figure out how you can build upon it as foundation and grow from that. One thing that we want to avoid with the 9 of Cups is the feeling that everything has to be perfect every day. If that happens, then we're actually entering into 7 of Swords, which is, it's not realistic. It's an illusion that society and teachers and everyone wants to tell us, is that everything's going to be fine every day. No, there's going to be days where there's a challenge. There's going to be days where there are pieces of news that you don't want to hear. There are things that happen to you that are inconvenient. And that's when the true test of character and resilience and growth happens. When you're sort of dealing face to face with a disappointment or some sort of a misstep, how you recover, how you thrive, how you grow from that, that is more important than how you deal with good news or how you deal with everyday stuff. It's sort of those moments where you're tried the most, where you shine. And that's what you've been able to prove in the past, is the ability to see the silver lining. We can see the sort of like foil on this card, but like in life, if we can see that beautiful silver lining, that's going to make anything more manageable, even the missteps. Then you don't have to expect perfection each day. You just have to find the piece of the experience that you can grow from, the piece of the experience that you can positively affect, and then you can release the stuff that you can't and just figure out like how you can really kind of lean into that. And that's going to help you survive and thrive in every single day. Okay? So 9 of Cups, positive energy, positive thought, affirmative thought, realistic expectations, however, when it comes to things that don't go the way that you plan them to. And then more importantly, recovering from those with that idea that I can learn something from this, I can bounce back. This doesn't define me. Okay? A lot to unpackage, really important card overall. It is one card that also begs for moderation, like less is more. So 3 of Cups and 9 of Cups typically come through when we're overdoing stuff. You can overdo many things in your life. It's not just eating or drinking, which is often what this card can be associated with. It can also be working or having too much fun. So it's not just about consumption, it's about activities and participation. So just find the balance that you need in your life. Okay. Moving on to recent past, there were 2 that stuck together, so I just decided to let them be here in tandem. So we're going to look at the presenting and then the sort of under the surface card. The presenting card is the 8 of Cups. For some of you, this is a chance to go back home, go back to an old job, go back to an old relationship. Could represent someone or something coming back from the past. If you didn't deal with it before, this is going to come back now. The person, the paperwork, whatever it is, it's going to come back into your life so that you can resolve it. And so resolution is the key thing to focus on at this point in time. This is also reminding you of the importance of sometimes just clearing your mind, getting some space so that you can get clarity on what's going on. So if you need to take a break, it doesn't mean that you have to quit. It doesn't mean that you have to make a big decision overnight. In fact, you would be better by getting some distance from a situation so that the clarity will come through. Then we have the Ace of Pentacles as the sort of under the surface opportunity. Once you have a chance to walk away from something, then often that clarity comes through. Once you deal with something from the past and either say goodbye or commit to it, then either, again, if you commit to it, then you see growth. If you say goodbye, something new comes in. You need to get distance and you need to also wrap something up. We're getting a combination of the two here. The Ace of Pentacles shows that for some of you, there could be a hidden opportunity, and it requires a little bit of your time and energy to go down that path. So if you keep avoiding something, you're going to also miss out on something. So there you go with those two. By and large, both of these are great energies. And actually, if we just look at the two of them side by side, the Ace of Pentacles is growth and abundance. The Eight of Cups is a cycle that is predictable, that is consistent. So I see some improvements with your finances, with your money, with your energy overall. Okay, let's look at your crowning card. Well, guess what we got? We got the Six of Pentacles, which is one of the ones that I featured. And the Six of Pentacles is about realistic expectations, saying no when you need to say no, deciding when you want to push a little bit more and burn the midnight oil, but you can't do it all the time. That's the important thing with this. Sprints and rests. I think you're going to go between those starts and stops in your life right now. The good news with this card is it represents the ability to pretty much get everything that you want. The only thing you have to adjust is the timeline. And for some of you, if you need something now, then you reduce the scope. If you want everything, if you want to maintain the scope, you need to find more budget, more money, or you need to spread it out over more time. So the compromise is not, can I have it? It's how much am I willing to deal with now, and how much can I spend to get what I need to get? So it's a budgeting card, really. And if you're a smart budgeter, you can figure that out, okay? When it comes to incoming resources as well, it represents balance, but always an ability to negotiate. So if you're buying something or selling something or in a sort of negotiation for a contract, especially for like salary, you can push a little bit with this card. Not an incredible amount, maybe up to 10% or something, but there's an ability to get a little bit more or to save a little bit if you need to. All right, looking at what wants to present itself, we have the Lovers in reverse, which tells me that, first of all, you have really magnetic energy, but because of the hermit-like attributes that I was pulling in with the Bobcat, some of you may not be completely comfortable, ready, or even prepared for this. So the Lovers can represent exactly as illustrated, new love coming into your life. It can also be an opportunity that you're really engaged with and that you're really appreciative of. The reversal of this can mean that the timing's inconvenient, that the fact that it's happening is unexpected. If it is something that is unwelcome, you can always say no to it because the Six of Pentacles is a choice. So this is an opportunity, and this is the choice and the weighing of, can I do this right now? Some of you may have unexpected love or partnership that comes into your life. And if we look at the spread here, it's sort of like, how do I fit this person into my life now? The Six of Pentacles is choice and balance and decisions to make room for that person. And it's something that only you can figure out, but based on what I'm seeing here, it can be done if you choose to. It's just a matter of choice. We have the Four of Pentacles and the Page of Pentacles. You're going to have to decide how much you're willing to give. And some of you may not be ready for that, but we'll talk about it as we look at relationships in a moment. Again, with this being in your near future and then the Eight of Swords being in the outcome, I just see it as a happy surprise. Unexpected good news, unexpected love, partnership, or incoming energy. And it's always up to you when this happens, like what you want to do with it. So the question here is not, if it's coming, it's more a matter of when and what you want to do when it comes. So it doesn't have to just be love, the Lovers. It can be something that you love. It can be very, very good news. It could be an unexpected partnership, but suffice it to say, these windows don't always open, windows of opportunity. So when they do, I would advise like doing the most that you can with them. Okay, let's take a look at all of these cards on the side. It's going to help you a bit as we navigate how you can embrace this opportunity. This is how you're showing up this month to yourself, to others. You're coming through with Four of Pentacles energy. Four of Pentacles is foundational, but it's also limiting. Now here we see her holding on, but kind of ready to let go of something. So let me show you the traditional four while we talk a little bit about it. What does four represent? The Four of Pentacles represents a period of time where you know, because when we looked at the cards at the center, we have the Six of Swords here crossing the center. You know that you're ready, but you're kind of like telling yourself that I can deal with this. Something, it's not time just yet. I want to hold on because I'm afraid what it might look like, what my life might look like if I'm not with this person, if I'm not at this job, if I don't have this sort of environment around me, etc. So we see a person in the Four of Pentacles holding on for dear life and putting their feet on trying to touch and hold everything and saying, mine, it's all mine. The energy of this is very sort of restrictive. And what you want to do instead is open up to say, I'm ready for more. This is the beginning. This is the first course. It's not the final. So you have more to come. And when you open up and say to the universe, I trust in the flow of abundance, and if something falls away, that doesn't mean that something new won't come in. Quite the inverse, because when we saw this was dealing with something, releasing something, getting some distance. And then once you do that, again, something new comes in. You're closer to the next phase than you might give yourself credit for. So if something is released from your life, then what you do is say, thank you for letting that come into my life and also leave my life. I'm ready to receive something greater now. That was just, again, the appetizer. You're ready now for the starter, for the main dish, for something amazing to sink your teeth into. So there you go. That's kind of what I'm getting with that. When it comes to payment and exchanges of resources and time, this is way too limited. So the Four of Pentacles, again, could be someone that you work for or someone that you're in a relationship with. And the best word that comes to me is they're a little stingy with how much they give you. So if this represents your salary, it's time to renegotiate. If this represents how much your partner's giving you, this also represents that they may not be as evolved and as ready to kind of put the energy forth in the relationship as you are. Because Six of Pentacles is more realistic in almost any relationship. It's give and take. That's a great card. That's a sign of a healthy relationship. You can't have everything, but you can have most of what you want. You give a little, they give a little, you take a little, they take a little, you lean on them, they lean on you. It's ebb and flow. This is not. This is very much someone taking more than they're giving and not providing you the support that you need in order to thrive. So imagine, if you will, like a flower that's in a pot that's too small, that doesn't get enough water, versus one in a really big pot that gets watered every day. It's going to grow faster because it has more resources. So in order for you to thrive and get to the next level, you want to be looking at parts of your life where you can open up to receive more support, more time, more energy, more money. And it's not about greed. It's really about having a nice firm foundation in your life. The more you have, the more you can give. And that's one thing that we forget sometimes. So that's basically what I would see here is don't underestimate yourself. Don't overextend when it comes to finances in this period of time, and don't allow for less than the best when it comes to compensation. You can do this. And I know that a lot of it could just be fear-based. And as we looked at your catalyst today, one of the things that you're working on is great lessons. So your great lesson here and the confirmation here is that you are worthy. You are worth whatever comes into your life, because in the near future, we have the lovely Lovers card. And it's saying the universe wants to give you more and wants you to receive more, but you have to want it as well. Looking at the environment, opportunities abound here. We have the Seven of Cups. This is a really cool Seven of Cups. I'm going to pull it in the upright position, even though it was reversed. But we see a person taking off a mask, trying on new personas, looking at new things. It's almost like the Angel of Death. And I said I saw death, the Death card. So this is a death of a version of you. And for some of us, we feel like what we're doing isn't us anymore, right? We enter into parts of our life sometimes where you think, how did I get here? And I think I'm someone else now, and I need to step into that persona, into that energy. And you have the permission. In fact, that's part of why we come on this planet, is to try new things. I'm going to pull the traditional Seven of Cups while we're talking so you can look at this, because it's one of the more introspective cards, meaning that you can, really the sky's the limit. And that is why the cups are floating in the sky on this one, even though, it's kind of a mixture of air and water because they're up in the clouds. But that's kind of what rain clouds are. It's air and water. What they're looking for is a way to be released or a way to come down to earth. So I'd like you to do two things this month, basically. The Seven of Cups is saying, I owe it to myself to explore all the opportunities. With this particular card, some of you may be feeling that sense of being an imposter syndrome, we call it. So let's say you went to school, you have a diploma. And the day you get the diploma, it doesn't necessarily mean that it immediately internally you believe that you are that new job title, that new career path. It takes time and it takes sort of a little bit of work. But energetically, you've done everything that you need to. And as you step into the opportunities, if people see you as a doctor, an artist, a teacher, a therapist, you are that. You just have to gain the confidence necessary. And that's kind of what we're seeing here with this. This is holding on to the past. This is the present that wants to come rushing in. And we need a little bit of, you just needed some validation here, which is what we got with this. You are enough and you are ready for that. Also, great lessons. You've gone through the energy in your life that you need to in order to be able to learn and then teach these lessons as well. So if you feel like you're faking it, most people do at some point in their life when they step into a new path. I can remember like just getting out of school and starting different jobs, or when you got promoted and had a new title. It's alien territory. For those of you that just got into a relationship and you're now exclusive, or you're married, you know what I'm talking about. Or if there's a business partnership and now finally there's, a shiny sign on the door, all of a sudden it makes it real, but there's this sense of surrealness as well. Like, is this really happening? It's really happening. You're not an imposter. You can do this. It's just about opening yourself up, which again, it's opening yourself up to criticism and to feedback, which I get it. It's difficult, but there's a lot of growth to be had. And as we peek into hopes, fears, and opportunity, that's what the universe is showing you. We got a Page of Pentacles here. So this is the fear. This is what you're putting out there, Four of Pentacles energy. This is what the universe wants to bring through. The Lovers and the Page of Pentacles. And it's really encouraging you to set your sights as high as possible. The sky is the limit here. Don't limit yourself. Seven of Cups reversed. Decide on what you want. For sure, there's a good energy here of knowing what you want, just like the Bobcat. The more you know it, the more the universe can provide it. But don't discount something just because you haven't done it before. And then what we see here with the page is incoming good news. This could be an offer that's sent to you via email or text, or someone that comes calling or knocking on the door and saying, hey, I want to talk to you about this. I was thinking of you. You would be perfect for this. So you could have someone approaching you with an opportunity. This is also you going out into the world and saying, hey, I have something that I'm excited about and I think you would like. So you can put that same sort of energy out there. The page works both ways. They are capable of sending and receiving. And so never underestimate your ability to break through a barrier and just create something if it doesn't exist, okay? Pages are very powerful in that respect. I also like to refer to them as the mediums of the court cards because they're more receptive. The King and the Queens, they're too busy bossing things around. The Knight, they're too busy sort of off on some sort of a journey. But the Page is able to read, to interpret, to receive, and then they're also able to move it forward. So in some ways, they have the most power because they can germinate, they can move forward, they can spread the news. And that's kind of exciting. They may not have the deciding power, but they definitely have the ability to incite, to create, to nurture, to germinate. And without that, none of the other stuff is going to matter. So you have that ability to bring something forward, and people are going to be interested if you're interested, okay? And then when we go to your outcome card, we have the Eight of Swords reverse, which is actually clarification, coming out of the dark, basically, if I had to put a caption to it. To me, that is one of the more exciting messages to come through for you right now. You can do this. You have more potential and more capacity than you ever imagined. This is the illusion this month, that you have to hold on to something, that when something falls away, that's it. The truth of the matter is we have the Lovers and the Page of Pentacles here. This is near future and this is opportunities. Opportunity is quite literally knocking with these two. It's unexpected good news, and you get to kind of try something new. Just don't get into that imposter syndrome because you have what it takes. And again, there is a chance to sort of step away from something that might be tugging at your resources, and that gives you more. So yeah, coming out of the dark and embracing the opportunities in front of you. Let's expand the forecast. We'll take a look a little bit deeper at health, wealth, love, and destiny so we can see more how you can unlock your potential, how you can see what's in front of you and come out of that phase of being in the fog or being in the dark. We're going to begin with your health message. A reminder that when we look at health, it's about your mind, body, and spirit. I'll be focusing on the spiritual components. If there's anything going on mentally or physically, obviously you can work with the right professional for that. So in the energy of spirit, let's see what messages are coming through for you. It's all about gratitude, and gratitude is such a beautiful energy to fall into when we deal with positives or critical sort of energy with respect to health. So for those of you that have had an injury or have had some sort of sickness or some sort of setback, it's not about being happy that that happened. It's about being happy about like the energy of recovery, or what you learn when you're in that period, or that you understand why it happened and that you're not going to repeat that cycle. So for those of you, I can relate because, I've had a foot fracture. It happened the middle of September. It's very much on the mend, but I probably have at least another month. Then I have physical therapy. It's going to take a while. It can take up to like half a year before you're completely back to normal. Definitely 12 weeks for a bone fracture at minimum. So for me, what I learned, I'll give you an example, was to slow down, to be more present, and to ask for more help. I had already gotten help for the main part of the move, but for this little mini move between the Airbnb, I didn't. And so I'm definitely doing that on Friday of this week. I hired people because when I added up all the money that I've spent on my medical bills, I could have hired the movers at the beginning. So it's not, sometimes we try to save and we try to do more ourselves and it's not worth it at the end of the day. So now I slow down, I ask for help, and I'm more present. In the off time, basically, my body needed a chance to just recover. And there were also a lot of things that I went through this year. So the universe just wanted me to slow down. Sometimes we get that. For those of you that have a family and work really hard and you have a sick day, sometimes there's a little bit of fun with the sick day, as long as it's not COVID or you're not sort of like deathly sick. If it's just sort of like the cold and flu and you just get to relax and watch TV and not answer all the emails for a little bit, all of a sudden you remember like what it was like to have a sick day at school. We need time off sometimes. So one thing that I would say for yourself is also give yourself a little bit of love. If you've banked up some sick time, some vacation days, take advantage of that. Do something so that you don't have to get sick. Because if we are in the moment and really love ourselves, then the universe doesn't have to teach us lessons in that way, shape, or form. Gratitude can also be very small. Like, we don't have to go big. It can be like for me, the ability to stand up without pain. I'm happy for now. I still have to have an air boot, but it's around the house. I don't need it and I'm okay. And I'm like, oh, it's so nice to just be able to stand up without pain. Walking is something to be grateful for. For those of you that might have asthma, it can be just the ability to breathe easily one day. If you've had any sort of head injury, like a concussion or things like that, it's mental clarity and acuity. So it can be something, I say these are small, these are big things, being able to breathe and walk and think. We take those for granted sometimes. We focus too much on the bigger, grandiose stuff, like how much money you have, what job you have, how much stress is going on at school. But when all those other things are happening, we forget that we're this incredible, amazing machine of a body and that it's ticking and moving and supporting us through all of that. So find some gratitude and give yourself some love, okay? Get a massage, get some acupuncture, get enough sleep, do something that really shows love and gratitude for this physical vessel that carries us through each and every day. Because you can actually read this as that. I mean, the Six of Swords is a vessel, it's a ship, but our body is the ship through which we kind of travel life, basically. And sometimes we are in denial of how important that is, or what kind of role that plays into our lives. So basically, that's just about being a little bit more present. Let's look at all the cards now. And again, we're looking at great lessons. So let's see what lessons are coming through, what opportunities are coming through. Some of you are having a hard time focusing. The Seven of Cups is an expansive card, but it's also one that can feel overwhelming because you look at all of these things in front of you and you think, I don't know what's going on. I don't know which one to go to. So you can always lean on a mentor or talk to a professional or specialist here when there's a lot going on. This can be ADHD because we're looking at health. Obviously, if any of these things happen, you need to work with a professional. But this can be persistent thoughts, lack of mental acuity or clarity, or being distracted. So give yourself some time and energy to recuperate and rest. But if that's not enough, again, talk to a professional on that. New relationships, you might just be thinking of someone right now. This can be infatuation and an unexpected sort of love or partnership that's coming into your life. But it's distracting and you have to make choices. The big opportunity this month is time, energy balancing, basically. And I think if you can do that, good things will happen. At the core of this, though, and this is super important when it comes to health, is being realistic. Realistic and honest with yourself. Are you truly ready for something? Are you ready to take accountability for something? If you are, you're ready to move on and to make a better cycle. So this is breaking one cycle, and this is making a new one, and this is sticking with that. This is a very adhesive card, the Ace of Pentacles, very sort of grounded. So this cycle will stick, and I like that. And then look at all of the great abundance that we have here. Once you're able to do that, we see growth and energy coming in. But for some of you, the stress or the sort of like holding on to something, that is something that you might need to talk to someone to kind of get some help with. I've been saying this a lot, but whenever Eight of Swords or Two of Swords comes through in a health reading, if there's something going on in your body, talk to someone about it. It can be eyesight because we have blindfolds, but it can also just be something that you don't know and you're afraid or you're worried about it. So talk to someone. It can also be something you're trying to ignore and you don't want to ignore it whenever you have the Two or the Eight of Swords. Otherwise, I'm actually quite pleased with what I see here. We talked about the power of being gentle and moderate. Like, don't go overboard whenever we see 9 or 3 of Cups. Moderation is key. But other than that, nothing here that is kind of like jumping out beside what we've just talked about. So I feel like you've got this under control. And when you have those little acts of gratitude, your whole perspective shifts, your attitude shifts, and the universe provides more, which is good. Moving on from health to wealth. Well, for some of you, this is a comeback story. So we have the recovery card here. Some of you are working with releasing ancestral energy as well, because we see that spiritual energy coming through. This almost reminds me a little bit of Judgment, like the angel in Judgment. And this is saying, like, when you're ready and willing to say to yourself, that was one misstep or mistake, but it does not equate everything, then the universe says, you're right, here's a new opportunity. We have the key on this card. So the angel reminds me of Judgment. The key reminds me of the Hierophant. And what the Hierophant would do in respect to wealth is say, I'm going to make a budget and I'm going to stick to it because it's one of the most structured and stubborn cards that I could pull, the Hierophant. And it's also pretty effective. Like, these systems, once you put them into place and into play, will work. So take some time, budget things out, factor out what matters and what doesn't. And then once you've created that clear line in the sand of this is what I can do, this is what I can't do, you're going to be able to make sure that you don't overextend. The good news for you is that I actually prefer the 6 of Pentacles to the 7 because this is about achieving the balance. The 7 of Pentacles happens sometimes when we're still going to those extremes. So I don't think you're necessarily going to have to do that. It's just about making sure that you say, I can do exactly this today. If you want this, it's going to have to wait till next week, or we're going to have to get more help or more budget. Just communicate limits and suggest alternatives. That's the key to saying no. It's not just a hard no, although sometimes you have to repeat that if someone's not listening. It can be a, how about this? I hear what you're saying and I understand, but this is what's realistic given time and energy. A lot of times they'll say, okay, thanks for letting me know. So before you go straight into overworking with the 4 of Pentacles and not getting enough, negotiate with the 6 of Pentacles and say, how about this? I think this would be a better approach. To that end, if you have had any sort of limits or missteps or whatever, what we do see here is growth, balance, and a new opportunity on the horizon. The main thing when it comes to money is the universe wants you to, two or three things here. Explore all the options in front of you. Never underestimate your worth either. Don't be afraid to look at things, because monetary things, legal contracts associated with money, it can be a little intimidating. But call out anything that you don't like. If someone's doing something wrong, that's not the right energy to connect with. But you don't want to let them sort of continue to get away with that. So you would call that to attention, and then you would sort of separate yourself from that if it's not working for you, okay? Some of you are ready to quit or move on. So I would say there's an option here. You can have a conversation that you love being at a place of work or doing some sort of an activity, but you need more, and then give them some options, give them a chance to come forward. If they can't see that or won't do it, then you get to move into another path, and that's going to open up an opportunity that you've already sort of created on the horizon. So this is just about owning, communicating, and expecting your worth to be reciprocated. If you're looking for work, Don't be afraid to look in other out of your current proximity, other locations, city, province, or countries. So traveling or expanding the search is part of this. Be honest on your resume, and be also willing to realize that you don't have imposter syndrome, because Seven of Cups is just saying, like, I'm afraid that I can't do it. If you've done the work and you know you can do it and it's just a fear, push through the fear. If there's something that you need more clarity on, get the clarity that you need. Otherwise, I actually quite like what I see here, and it does feel like someone else, when you put it all together and say, this is what I'm worth, this is why I'm worth it, this is what I want to do. If you've built up the good sort of karma and the goodwill here, it'll come through. And if it doesn't, that's all you need to know, that it's time to move on. Okay? Some of you may be deciding to help others. This is a card for those of you that might be in therapy and health and wellness and spiritual well-being and life coaching, all of those things where you give people the building blocks that they need to sort of get to the next level. So if you're looking for confirmation on that, that's coming through. Okay, let's move on to the relationship energy for this month ahead. You got the electric eel in reversed, and it basically says, bring your ideas to life. This is especially positive for platonic relationships and business relationships, but when it comes to all levels of love and friendship, it's also saying, I need to be myself. You need to be who you truly are with the people that you love. Share your hopes and fears with them, especially if it's your partner. If you can't tell them what you think and what you want to do, who can you share it with, right? This is also a card that I would closely connect to the Magician, because the electrical charge reminds me of charisma, reminds me of magic. It's sort of that undeniable and sometimes unquantifiable spark that you feel with someone, okay? So you either feel the spark or you don't. And that's the most important message that the electric eel is telling us. You can't generate a spark where it doesn't exist. So as I look at relationships across the board, one thing that you can ask yourself is, do I feel it and do they feel it? The connection, the sort of like the confirmation that we're supposed to be doing this. And if it isn't there, then you have permission to move into another direction, particularly if we're looking at work. But in a relationship, you have to get real and deal with kind of rekindling the spark or talking about why it's faded out. All right, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's focus now on 3 different aspects of relationships: those in love, looking for love, or single but happy. For those of you in an existing relationship, honesty and transparency is smack dab at the center. The 7 of Swords is saying, as long as you deal with anything, like I said, with honesty and with frankness with your partner, I feel like you're going to be able to navigate successfully through it. If you try to walk away, run away, or hide something, it has a way of coming out. So it's better if you own the narrative and talk about it, or bring it up and say, this is something I feel like we both would benefit from talking about. Let's go into this. You'll find a way to say it that's a little bit more organic, but it's important for you to deal with anything that's under the surface, okay? Distance could be playing a really big part of the relationship dynamics right now, and maybe not talking about that. This can be about being in the same room but feeling distant, but nobody's saying it. It's the elephant in the room. The 7 of Swords is something you're ignoring, and what you're ignoring is that, like we said, the spark may not be there, so you got to do something about that. When I look at the deep past, it feels like you guys had a lot of passion, a lot of connectivity in the past, and it can be rekindled. We have an ace here. So if the sort of olive branch or opportunity or the spark is put out there, then we see that it could be rekindled here. What's interesting, though, is there's a compromise. The 6 of Pentacles tells me that right now, because of, for some of you, there's a lot of work and energy going into play here. Like your partner might be focusing on work, you might be focusing on work. There's something that you care about that's pulling you apart a little bit. So you just have to negotiate and also stick to time for the two of you, a date night, or say that, after 8 o'clock, we're going to just focus on talking to each other a little bit, put down the devices a little bit, whatever it is. Just carving out some time so that you are there. Then you can rekindle this. But the spark can't just work one way. And if there's no spark on either side, then it starts to diminish a bit. So this is about making sure that you feel seen and heard, making sure that you talk about what's bothering you, because this doesn't have to be deception. It can just be saying that like if I ignore it, it'll go away. The Seven of Swords and the Six of Swords together is the illusion that ignoring something solves it. It doesn't. It actually feeds it. And also, you could be imagining something. We see like the little beast here at the bottom of the Seven of Cups. So sometimes, and I think it's even apparent in the, yeah, it is. If we look at the traditional card, we'll see like a dragon or a beast here. We can imagine the best, we can imagine the worst. So ask a question rather than assuming, rather than letting your imagination go wild. And I think these are the healthy things that you can do to really thrive in a relationship this month. Travel could be fun, by the way. So if you're looking for a way to rekindle the spark, we're looking at the Six of Swords and the Eight of Cups. So that's a trip together. We see the spark being rekindled there. We see it being rekindled here. We see that you're feeling seen and heard, that the investment is well spent, that you can negotiate it. So I see a happy ending to any challenges if you want to put the energy in. If you want to move on, then I see love coming into your life again. So that kind of is a segue into the next thing. Before I do that, though, we see great lessons here. So let me just say, when we look at the deep past and when we look at where you're showing up right now, this is about expecting everything to be great all the time. So what we understand in life is that relationships, experiences in general, it's not a storybook ending. It's more like a roller coaster. There's ups and there's downs and there's twists and there's turns. And like I said earlier, it's how you show up when things get real or when things get a little messy that really matters. And if you can do that with grace and gratitude, then your relationship will make it through anything. Okay? Now let's move into the next portion. That's the main message here. This can be going to extremes karmically, and this can be holding back, so the transparency is key. All right, now moving from those that are in a relationship to those that are single and looking, or maybe newly single and looking again. All right, so if you are looking for love, well, guess what? In the near future, we have the Lovers, and we have it coming in unexpected places. What you're doing right now, it's setting you up for love, but it may not be the vehicle that love comes through. So putting yourself on a dating app may just be telling the universe you're ready, but you may not find it on the dating app. Getting set up by a friend, it may not work out, but then the next time you meet someone randomly out and about, you're going to have an easier time breaking the ice because you've practiced. So keep doing the things that you're doing, but also be open to trying new things and realize that it's almost like training wheels. It's getting you ready is what I see, but it may not be how it happens. Being out in the world, traveling, exploring, that definitely is a great way to connect with love and to open yourself up to that. Making time in your schedule is important. The Six of Pentacles is all about finding and establishing and maintaining the balance. Being yourself and not holding back. And that's something that comes with age and experience. Not feeling like you have to mold yourself and try to be something that you're not. We see the person here taking the mask off. The other card where that would sometimes come in is like the Six of Wands, like I want to make you happy. And the Seven of Cups is wondering what you're thinking or wondering if there's something going on. So don't create this unnecessary rabbit hole. It's like the new Taylor Swift song, Antihero, with all the things that she does to kind of like create havoc. So don't be the anti-hero. Be the hero in your life because we have the Lovers card coming through and love wants to show up. See your worth, be authentic, know that you're worth it, and then trust the spark. Here's the most important thing. If it looks good on paper, but it doesn't feel good in person, it's not right. If someone sets you up and you don't feel the spark, or if you matched on a dating app but you don't feel the spark, or if you feel it and they don't, it's not right. But there's someone else waiting for you, and that's what I see with this, okay? So trust the spark. When it comes to FYI, I just think that there's a lot of interest in you right now. So this you can actually use for work and for a career, which is a nice segue into single and happy. So if you're single and happy, there's opportunities knocking on the door. There may be a chance for you to relocate if you want to relocate. By the way, I forgot to say that in general, relocation can be a part of your next journey, but it looks like there's a lot to be researched here. You have to be realistic with how much work that will be. You have to test it out, make sure that you like the place, go and see things in person, and you have to make sure you ask all the questions. So it's there, but it's a little bit, there's some things you have to explore there. But here's the good news overall. What I see is a story of increased energy and resources. So we go from the Six of Pentacles to the Page of Pentacles. We have a lesson of limitations with the Four of Pentacles, but the reality is you're going from six to a page. So you're definitely headed in the right direction. Like I said, there can be a new job, there could be a new friendship, a new partnership, platonic or business on the horizon. Even though you're not looking, someone may say, hey, I like you. I want to spend time with you. So a lot of times when we're disconnected, that's when things just start rushing in, and that's what I see for you. It's a good time no matter how you slice it, because everything on the side is really good. Again, to summarize it, moving past limitations, exploring all the possibilities, getting a return on your investment, or having someone interested when you least expect it. This is a nice narrative on the side here that I see. So there you go, everybody. The most important thing one last time is you either feel it or you don't. And if you don't feel it, you have to talk about it. Remembering that the eel is also the magician. When you put your heart and your energy into something, you'll start to see movement there. Okay? Let's go ahead now and take a look at your destiny. Destiny is something that you can change. Isn't it interesting, at least the way that I read it here, isn't it interesting that we're looking at the sleep message? And I talked earlier when we were looking at the Bobcat about the increased nocturnal energy, so late at night or early in the morning. So some of that's coming through here. Signs from heaven. Thank you for sending me reminders of your presence. You might be receiving it in dreams. You may just get intuitions or epiphanies, which are nonetheless important and nonetheless clairvoyant. We don't have to just get it like a blasted image in our head or a big, foghorn in our ears. Spirit moves in a much more subtle and nuanced way. And that's the one thing that movies don't always get right when it comes to intuition. It's just a nagging feeling, an instinct, something that won't go away sometimes. Your clairsentience, your clairvoyance, it's going to speak in a whisper and in a subtle tone a lot of the times. There are moments where it's clear and you're like, okay, that is a yes or that's a no. But there are other times where you have to stop for a second and think, well, how do I really feel? And why am I trying to talk myself in or out of that? And by the way, that's a really valuable thing that I almost forgot with the Seven of Swords. The Seven of Swords can be sort of like the lie that we tell ourselves in order to stay put or not move on to something. So really listen to yourself and don't try to talk yourself in or out of something that you know better than. So if you know that you need to say no, say no. If you know that something has kind of like served its purpose, let it go. Don't hold on that extra bit. You'll regret having that sort of extra energy expended there, okay? So you're receiving a lot of signs and signals. Don't doubt them. The card reverse is saying that you might need to be making more time to tune in. So each and every one of us connects to spirit in a different way. If you are artistic, painting, composing, writing, dancing, pottery, like anything that you want to do that is a sort of channeled energy, that's a great way to meditate. It doesn't have to just be that. Sleep, though, is a really good thing. Sleeping and meditation need probably to be amped up just a little bit, and that's going to help you receive more insights. Okay, let's go ahead and pull a big idea card and see if there's one overarching theme that you need to be paying attention to over the next 6 to 8 weeks. Okay, you got two. So you've got the big ideas this month. Again, I always like to look at the presenting card and the card underneath it. So it's love no matter how you slice it, because we have the Knight of Cups and the Ace of Cups. So the Knight of Cups in the upright position. Love yourself. Be open to be creative. Have some fun. See the beauty that you bring in the world. And know that you are not solely summarized by what others think of you. You have to love yourself first. It's nice to get the acceptance of others. It's nice to get the validation from others. But love begins within. And many of you are ready. And I do see it coming into the future because look at what we've got here, the Lovers. So how might that person come through? Well, it could be a water sign. This is also you. So it's a someone that's very close to your energy, which is a good thing. And stay open to the possibilities. A lot of times we say to ourselves, I would never date this type of person or this sign or this or that. And it shuts so many doors. Don't judge someone until you've gotten a chance to really know them. I was talking with another astrologer earlier, and one of the things that we because he was saying that I struck him more as like a Scorpio than a Libra, and I said, well, I'm on the cusp, and also I have a lot of grounding energy, because you guys always ask what I am. So I'm Libra Sun, I am Capricorn rising, I am Taurus Moon, and I'm Virgo in Venus. So all of these things sort of help create a different version of what a Libra would look like. So no two Libras are alike, no two Capricorns are alike, no two Cancers are alike. So when someone in your life comes through and you're like, oh, I could never date that person because of their star sign. No, you never know what their full chart is. And there's a line in a Garbage song, Androgyny, never let a soulmate pass you by. You never know. You never know if that's the right person in a different package. So this is saying stay as open as you can to the possibilities, and don't limit yourself just because of a past experience with someone. So if there's a certain career or certain, just even a look or a type, go past it if there's the spark. If the spark comes through and you feel it, trust the spark, okay? More so than your preconceived notions. Because we got such a love-oriented coupling of cards, I had to go into love. The other thing here is that when it comes to creative ventures in your life, this is a great time to do something creative. Your passion's coming through loud and clear. That's exciting. I don't always get a lot of cards around love, but we definitely got some confirmation and affirmation there. All right, let's go ahead now and focus on a blessing and a block for this period of time. Sounds like exactly what it is. Something that can help you, something that might cause a delay. Let's see how you can embrace both of them. The blessing is the Fool, which is movement, and the block is the Three of Cups. Cancer, if you're not already aware, it looks like love, friendship, and partnerships are going to play a very big role in the next period of time. So suffice it to say, you got to focus on that. Let's look at the blessing. The blessing is change is happening. Many of you already have 1.5 feet out the door. You're so ready to move on that it's kind of funny. You're just waiting for the world to catch up with you. I would say with the Fool, pace yourself, embrace and surrender to this new sort of energy and this new inspiration that many of you are ready to kind of embark upon, and just one step at a time. The Fool only gets himself into trouble if he leaps without looking. What I like about this Fool is he has that parasol, and I kind of get the Mary Poppins vision in my mind that it's going to be, this time around at least, it's going to be a nice smooth landing. So if in the past it wasn't, know that this time, as long as you pace yourself, as long as you look around, as long as you're present, you're going to be like Mary Poppins, okay? And you're going to be able to get where you need to be without a problem. Mary Poppins also was an awakening force for the dad that she was helping out. She helped him reconnect with his kids and slow down. So slow down and be present, since we're getting that energy in this particular card, okay? With it in reverse, it's saying 2 steps forward and 1 step back is still a step forward. It's just sometimes frustrating. So never stop the movement. Never stop trying. Never stop moving. That's the blessing, is your resilience, that again, and your ability to surrender, your ability to explore, the irreverent energy that's a part of the Fool, the playful energy that's a part of the Fool. Embrace and engage with all of that. The block this month could be the distraction of social engagements. And it makes a lot of sense. We're here in the United States, we have Thanksgiving coming up. In all parts of the world, we have a lot of holidays coming through in December where this reading is meant to encompass. So, we have Kwanzaa, we have Christmas, we have New Year's, we have Hanukkah, we have any number of other holidays that I'm forgetting right now, but it feels like back to back, this is going to be a busy month. So pace yourself and try not to overextend yourself, because as I said earlier, these 2 cups constitute the cards of extremes and overindulgence. So don't overdo it, basically. This can also be new people coming into your life, new dates, new friends, new opportunities in partnership. And it is something to be celebrated, but your calendar just may be very, very, very full, and you have to just sort of take it 1 step at a time. So the Fool comes in and it says, don't rush into love. Don't rush into all of these things too quickly. Pace yourself and you'll be fine. Okay? Overall, when I get a positive card for a block, it's kind of fun. The only thing that the Three of Cups can represent is gossip. So please be mindful of what you say, to whom you say it, and just to make sure that it would be something that you would be happy to have the parties involved here. So if you don't have something nice to say, don't say it. If you've agreed not to speak about something, better not to speak about it. We're talking about business agreements and non-disclosure agreements. And in general, less is more. Listen, when you're in the parties, just sort of like let other people do the talking. And typically you're not going to get into trouble when you do that. All right, so very manageable blessings and blocks. We're going to look at viewer's choice next. Let me take a look at the cards and see what really wants to come through. I want to take a look at the Seven of Swords. What is it that maybe it's difficult to deal with, or who is it that's difficult to deal with, and what can you do about it? All right, so how can we manage that? And then I might pull something for the Four of Pentacles after that. So first, reader's choice is Seven of Swords. What is it that we have to get real about? It's time to move on, folks. I mean, it's really a mirror of what we saw with the Six of Swords. This is about movement. This is about moving on. The card in reverse is just saying that you'll probably be the one that's initiating it, and that the change is often, it can feel topsy-turvy, right? Whenever you're going into the energy, it's all new. We have the bookends. Again, your blessing is that you've set yourself up to be ready for this. Be aware, be visible, be sort of like tuned into the environment, and then trust that this time you can land like Mary Poppins, slowly and with grace and with gratitude. And the World card in reverse is saying, look in areas that you wouldn't normally look for something. So sometimes we deny ourselves the opportunity to be able to do something because we think to ourselves, that's not me. So the imposter syndrome keeps coming through as I'm looking at this. One last thing as we look at the two is it's time to move on, but don't run away, because this card was reversed. The World card was reversed. So I would say deal with it first, try to leave with dignity and grace, but don't just walk away, run away, or avoid dealing with whatever it is that isn't right. Rectify that, talk about it, and then leave with a clear conscience, knowing at least that you got it off your chest, and you're not going to have to always wonder, I wish I would have said this, I wish I would have done this. Okay? All right. Let's go ahead now and take a look at the Four of Pentacles, which was limitations that you're putting on yourself. So we looked at the traditional card where that person was holding it close to the heart. It almost looks like she's waiting to hear or waiting to receive something. So let's see what the message is around self-worth, about releasing old patterns, and basically how you can overcome the Four of Pentacles. Well, you're going to have to do it yourself. We have the King of Pentacles in reverse. This is coming through from teachers and parents in particular. So in the past, there could have been someone extremely demanding of you, maybe that was never quite satisfied with what you brought forward. It can also be a partner as well, but someone that you loved and were closely connected to. The King of Pentacles comes through with that parental or that boss-like energy. So it's basically saying, the universe is saying, you're the boss now, you're the creator, you have the Midas touch, the green thumb, you can make it happen. And by the way, if they never told you, you are an amazing and worthy individual capable of doing great things. So you didn't get the validation from your mom, your dad, your boss, your lover, but you are getting it from spirit. And when you start nurturing that inner boss energy within, then it starts showing up in the world around you, and you don't need the validation. You never did, but this card is helping you break free of needing the validation. All right, now we're going to take a look at Cancer, Sun, Rising, and Moon messages. You can, again, always look at it for any aspect of your chart, but I like to drill into these three in particular because as a reader, I always like to look at Sun, Rising, Moon, and I also like to suggest that you look at that as well. Okay, let's give the cards a shuffle and see what messages are coming forth. All right, for Sun, for Rising, and for Moon. Let's begin with the Sun sign messages. We have a change of fortune for you, the Wheel of Fortune in reverse. Let's really zoom in on this card here. And if you look at this, it's one of my favorite illustrations because we have what to me looks like the angel of death or transformation, which I saw for you. And it's saying for the Sun sign in particular, there's a period of marked change, development, transformation, regrowth, rebirth. It's exciting, but it does require you to move in a different direction. And when we looked at the cards on the table, that could be a figurative or a literal move. So moving away from someone or something that doesn't suit you, moving towards a location or a job that does. And in doing so, also rectifying what was probably a wrong here, which is not receiving enough. And it's saying, I'm deserving of more, in which case you receive it. So sun sign messages basically this month all have to do with reclaiming your worth. This is also an indicator of up to 4 seasons. So it can be a 1-year cycle. It takes a while. So we're looking at December. So from December to December, pulling you almost into the year after next, we're seeing this period of growth and adjustment. So give yourself time to get settled and know that you're on the right path. You're starting to open this up and that the wheel keeps turning. And no matter where you're at right now, let's say you're in a period of lack or limitation, or you wish you could see just a little bit more growth, keep moving, keep taking a step at a time, and slowly but surely we see you on that path towards abundance. Let me see if there's anything else here. This is a new phase for some of you. Let's say you just graduated and you're getting into the workforce. Let's say you're mid-career and you want to change direction, or you're retired. At all of these junctures, we can get this sort of feeling of, okay, I'm ready to start something new. And this is just validation, because death plus the Wheel of Fortune is a change in how you make money and also your relationship with money. So if you ever went bankrupt, had debt, had some issues with it, you've changed your relationship, and that's not going to happen anymore. In fact, your mantra today is, I'm turning a new leaf. I'm ready for love and abundance in the highest forms. I don't need those lessons anymore. Okay? So no matter how you want to look at this, I really feel like this is a new leaf, that abundance is on the horizon, and all that you have to do is to keep turning that wheel and keep shifting your perspective towards the positive. Very focused on personal growth, development, finances, and fulfillment. This is not so much about relationships. For Sun, as we're looking at the big energy that wants to come through, it does come through in the energy of worth. And worth played a big role in all of these cards here, so that makes a lot of sense. So that's everything for Sun. Let's move from Sun to Rising or Ascendant. So we have the Hanged Man in reverse. Things are starting to pick up, but there is a general sort of like note from the universe that you don't want to leave something before you've learned all of the lessons. The Hanged Man is most powerful when all the lessons have been gathered. Because again, if we go to the mythology of this is based on Odin hanging from the tree of knowledge to gain the secrets of the runes. He had to wait to get what he was looking for. When we push the fast forward, when we want things to just be done in a New York minute, they don't happen that quickly, and sometimes we miss something. So this is saying, really take your time, make sure all your T's are crossed, your I's are dotted, and that you have basically finished everything that you set out to finish. That being said, the delay is nearly done. Be patient with yourself, be patient with others. This is also a card that tells you to take care of your legs, your knees, your feet, particularly ankles and feet. Like when I had my injury, the Hanged Man came up when I was pulling for myself. So if you've ever had a sprained ankle or a broken foot or any sort of, you could also just have some balance issues like Hanged Man, the Tower, Two of Pentacles. There's some other ones, but they can all show balance issues in your life, even the Six of Pentacles, which you got. So I would say finding the balance necessary and grounding yourself in what's realistic is going to be really important. But when you're walking and when you're traveling, try not to multitask so that you don't kind of like lose your balance. Let me see if there's anything else. If someone leaves you hanging, this is also an indicator that you can do better. Not communicating with you is actually a form of communicating with you. So if there's just crickets, this is also saying it's okay to move in a different direction, okay? One last thing that I want to talk about here is that the Hanged Man can also indicate that the universe is intentionally giving you a pause so that it can set up a synchronicity. So know that by having to wait a little bit longer, you could then stumble across someone or something in your travels or in your research that you wouldn't have been able to do if the first option came through. Sometimes your backup option, sometimes what happens when you're waiting, it's more powerful than what would have happened if you just rushed to whatever was available. Don't compromise, don't rush, wait, see what's coming through, because something beautiful wants to come on the horizon here. All right, let's move on to moon sign messages. We have the Knight of Swords, and it is in reverse. Here's a couple of beautiful messages that come through on this. The first one is you're allowed to change your mind. Sometimes we think that we have to just forge forward because we initially said that we agreed on something, or that we felt a certain way, but after you learn more facts and information, you're allowed to evolve and develop and change your mind. And strong leaders are able to say, you know what, I used to think about it this way, but now I've learned and this is a better path. I think we should explore this. It's not wishy-washy unless you're doing it all the time, but having a change of heart and a change of decision sometimes is just inherent to growing and knowing new things. So if you need to change your path and you've done the research, just communicate how and why this is so valuable to others. This is also saying that it's valuable to pause before acting or speaking, and it's okay to take a slight course adjustment. So rather than just rushing to that finish line, which a lot of times we're forced to do in corporations because you got to meet a deadline, or you say I'm going to do something by a certain time, but it's not the quality that it should be. Better to communicate a delay and to finish it with the sort of high bar of excellence that people have come to expect than to rush something out the door that doesn't feel like it's right, because you only get one chance to make that splash and that impression. So do so wisely. Better to have a delay, but have something better. And you can also pause, ask questions, turn to the right or left a little bit, and then get back on path. So this is about being inquisitive. It's about pausing. It's about changing your course or your mind if you need to based on new facts and information, and basically being informed and deliberate when you're doing that. That's okay. And by the way, it's also about being very, very direct. You have such powerful messages coming through with this card. To me, this shows the easiest of all three. Like, you can move, but you have to have just a little bit of honesty, clarity, transparency, and the ability to be willing to change your mind or pivot on an original point of view, and then you're going to be all right. Okay? No matter how you slice it, though, the Nine of Swords is about moving the needle forward and moving in the right direction, which indeed you are. Very powerful. So that, my friends, is Sun, Rising, and Moon. And that brings us to the latter portion of the reading here. So we have still 3 parts that we'll be looking at. We're going to do a quick meditation and a sound bath. And then I'll be taking a look at what I call the final card. And that's basically one last question that you have for me. I do my best to cover everything, but in any reading, invariably, there's always one very personal thing that's going on for you. So you don't have to type that in chat or anything. Just think it as we meditate, or write it down before we meditate, and then I'll pull a card in just a moment. Let's look at what's in front of us before we meditate and see what the main opportunity is. So we have a lot of cards around movement. We do have a card here about letting go. And I think we could tie together these two, the 4 of Pentacles and the 6 of Swords. It's about release and about opening up the heart space. And I think that's what I want to focus on as we meditate. So as I said earlier, focus on your question, make sure that you capture that, and we'll have a chance to look at that after this. And in the meantime, close your eyes. Imagine that you are outside in a beautiful rolling open field. Basically, as far as you can just see green meadows, green fields, and you're in a very clear area of that where it's just sort of like clover blossoms, and it's nice and soft ground, so you could actually just lay back in this sort of field of clover. And I chose that because I'm thinking of a 4-leaf clover and the 4 of Pentacles. I want you to imagine that as you're in all of these beautiful shamrocks and clovers, you have the ability to connect with the abundance of all the pollinators. So there are bees, there are butterflies, there are moths, there are hummingbirds, all of these abundant and very high frequency energies literally buzzing around you. Imagine that for a moment you see the hummingbird come in front of you and just hover for a second. I want you to close your eyes, lay back on the clover and the grass, and listen to the sound of the hummingbird. The hummingbird is going to be your healer today. It's going to move around, and if you've ever heard one, you can kind of imagine this. Otherwise, just imagine a really high-pitched tone. It's going to move around your body and equal out any sort of energy that needs to be sort of balanced. It's going to heal anything that needs to be healed. And at some point, when you become at ease with yourself, it's going to land on your heart space. So take a few deep breaths and open yourself up to the healing energy of the hummingbird. Let go of old grief. Tell your higher self, tell the hummingbird, I'm ready to let go of sadness. I'm ready to let go of the feeling that I'm not worthy, that I'm not ready, that I'm somehow an imposter in my life. I realize now that I have potential, that I am ready, that I am worthy. And I'm ready to open my heart and my mind to receive love, abundance, and resources. Now allow the hummingbird to gently rest on your heart for a second and feel that, just like if you look at the colors of its feathers, it's bluish, it's greenish, it's all the energy of the throat and the heart mixed together, and you can start to see this start to envelop your body. Imagine, if you want to, even like you're creating wings that are iridescent, just like the hummingbird as well, that are going to allow you to move forward, to follow what your heart wants to follow in the days and the weeks to come. And just let the hummingbird sit there, maybe again, occasionally fluttering its wings, helping move the energy and open up the heart space. And just repeat the mantra, I am worthy, I am ready, and I am open, so that you can start to receive. As you meditate and repeat the mantra, I'm going to play a singing bowl here, and then we'll take a look at the final question that you have for me. Allow yourself now to give gratitude to that lovely healing totem that came through in the form of the hummingbird. Stand up in your mind's eye anyway for a moment, and imagine that if you were to stretch out your arms and your body, you could see this beautiful iridescent bluish green energy infused in your auric shield and your auric field as well. Knowing that the ability to take flight, metaphorically speaking, is now part of your journey, that you're going to see dreams and hopes and desires start to take this sort of energy of abundance and, again, flight, movement. Okay? I want you now to, if you haven't already, please gently open your eyes and focus on the final question that you have for me. Just hold it in your mind, hold it in your heart, and let's take a look and see what the universe wants to bring forth with respect to that final question. We have Agape, which is a lovely card here. No matter how you turn this card, it's upright. And this is a higher calling, a spiritual calling. This is unconditional love from the universe. This also, as you can see at the center, it's basically embracing the energy of the lovers. It's saying that in all shapes and forms, this sort of universal love wants to flow through you right now. For some of you, you may decide to go down more of a path of spirituality. You may decide to just follow your heart, and that's really embraced with this. As a yes, no, it's a yes with an exclamation point. But it is about really going into the limitless energy of the Seven of Cups, seeing beyond the mask of this lifetime, beyond the sort of roles that everyone wants to place in front of you, and saying, I'm worth all of this and then some. And I'm not going to say no to love and opportunity when it comes into my life. Unconditional love, connection to spirit, higher self, all of that. And in this particular deck, there's like 3 extra cards, and this is 23. So it's a little bit past the world. I think there's like the well and the artist involved with this deck as well. But this is one of the higher cards that you can pull, and it's showing connection to higher planes. So make sure that what you're doing right now also really kind of like fires you up, that you're feeling the electric eel spirit that we talked about here as well. Okay? There you go. Really beautiful energy overall. And there's nothing negative with this card. Only in denying yourself an opportunity to be loved or explore something that you love, or questioning the universal love that wants to come through in the form of that. Okay? That's everything for today. I wish you all the best. Thank you so much for being a part of this journey and letting me be a part of your journey as well. Again, I will see you next week. I'm going to be taking Friday off because I am moving from this Airbnb to another Airbnb. And then hopefully in the near future, I'll be in my apartment, but probably one more month. So that just means that I'll add that extra day in on either Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. So keep an eye on the community tab for more information on that. In the meantime, thank you so much for your love and support. If you'd like to, again, drop a like and a subscribe, join me on social media, or show support in the form of a super sticker, super chat, or membership, thank you as well. And little sleeping beauty here, Apollo and I, we wish you the best. I look forward to when I can bring him up to the front, but right now he's like, Dad, I don't want to make an appearance. So we'll let him sleep. All right, take care, everyone. Again, I will see you on the weekend on Sunday for the collective. Until then, be well, take care of yourself, and keep shining. Bye-bye.